This is The Dig on the Huskers Radio Network podcast. Powered by Emeritus. Featuring Nebraska volleyball assistant coach Jaylen Reyes. Here's your host, Jessica Coody.
Welcome back into another episode of The Dig right here on the Huskers Radio Network presented by Emeritus. I'm Jessica Coody and joined again by Jaylen Reyes. Thank you so much for being here. What a week for Husker volleyball.
Great week. Two great opponents that we got to play against. Our team played amazing, and there was a little bit of adversity even during those matches.
Yeah. And,
you know, obviously getting to play Stanford is always a big one, just the two histories of the two volleyball programs, and then playing at a really kind of hostile environment in Louisville in front of a bunch of people was really, really awesome again, and getting to play them on their home court where they're really, really good, It was a really good week for us. A little bit of travel, kind of our second road match. Official road match. Kentucky was more of a neutral site anyway. But yeah, it was great. Great week for Nebraska volleyball.
If someone would have told the coaching staff that you guys would have swept both Stanford and Louisville last week, what would you have said?
I would have said awesome.
Would you have believed
I mean,
it?
I don't know. No, I guess, just because I think I have a lot of respect for those volleyball programs. Honestly, I individually, I can't speak for all the coaches, but I think I'm the guy, let's win 3 sets by 2 points, no matter who it is, because at the end of the day, it's kind of, they just put a W at the end of it or an L. So it's one of those where I just want to win 3 sets. And if it comes in a sweep, great. If it comes in 5, great. I mean, but no, I guess I would say no, just off the cuff, like really? Just because, I have a lot of respect for those two programs and those two coaching staffs for sure.
The way that the schedule had gone, you guys hadn't had much time to train and practice, and you were able to do that last week, right? A little bit more. How good was that, surrounding those two matchups with number 2, number 4, to have extra time to prepare and practice and get better?
Oh, it helps a ton. Just from a preparation standpoint, too, getting ready for those teams, and then also just being able to focus on our side of the net is a big deal. Just because when you play on Tuesdays sometimes, and then you end it with, their next match is on Friday, it's just tough just because of, you don't want to just jump hard into a hard training day the day before match, and then day after match, we kind of like to go light or not go at all. And then, if you're playing on Tuesday, okay, Wednesday is either off or short, and then, okay, you get one practice Thursday, but you're trying to prepare for something on Friday. So last week, in terms of the Wednesday, Sunday, I think just Wednesday, Sundays, we're used to that too, via being in the Big Ten, and sometimes we just play on Wednesday. We played on a lot of Wednesday, Sundays. Helped a ton. But yeah, I think just the preparation time, being able to just focus on the specific things that we need to get better at really helped us.
So let's go back to the Stanford match first. And again, you guys just really dominated from the start. How ready was this team to go against the Cardinal? I mean, I know there's a lot of history there. So how fired up was this team? How ready to go were they in that matchup?
I mean, I think there's no secret. That's an opponent. There's 5 or 6 of them. And, I think every opponent is really important. But I think just the history of the two volleyball programs, and a lot of our girls are recruited by Stanford too, and just like they're recruited by Wisconsin and Minnesota and Texas and Louisville, like these teams that there's certain measuring sticks that are out there, and Stanford is usually one of them for us, and I think we're maybe the same for them, and there was a different level of focus for sure, and I just thought the biggest thing, speaking on the defensive side of things, were just the attention to detail that the girls played with from the start. And I mean, it did not stop the entire night. I mean, I thought we came out the same way against Creighton, going back a couple of weeks now. But then in the third set, I felt like we let it slip a little bit, and then we lost a close third set. Obviously, we got crushed in the fourth, and then that same level of attention to detail came back in the fifth set. I felt like the Stanford match, that attention to detail was there the entire night in terms of just, they're going to kill some balls. They have some great athletes. They're going to do some things. They're going to serve it really well, which they did in the second set. But just these certain things that we talked about, hey, this person's going to get these kills doing it this way, but she's also going to do this, and these are the ones we have to pick up. These are the things we have to see. And I thought, I mean, within the first 5 or 6 points, a lot of those scenarios we talked about showed up early, and we were all over it. And then we picked it up and then killed the ball. So then it just makes the other teams feel like, oh gosh, okay, we have to kind of swing for the fences against us, and then they start hitting balls out, and then, I think even better, they start hitting the ball at the block, and that's why we could start blocking. But early in the set, we felt like we picked up a couple of things, or we were sitting in right spots defensively, or we were looking at the right things that really helped us, kind of grab control of it. And then, kudos to the girls, they kept it up. So it was they never kind of let them come back up for air defensively. And, when we do that, we're a really, really good team.
So then you guys bounce back again. You got another big one on Sunday, which was on ABC, an early match. They had a huge crowd.
I heard we were right before Caitlin Clark playing too.
Yeah, it led into the WNBA playoffs.
That's kind of cool.
So yeah, it was all day a big day for women's sports on ABC. It was really neat. But just again, I guess for that opportunity to play Louisville, where the Final Four is, a top 5 matchup. Just how did you guys approach that kind of matchup and that kind of big the final non-conference matchup of the season?
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, Jess, I just felt like, we played, and this is not a knock against maybe some of the teams I don't mention right now, but we played a big match in Louisville against Kentucky, and then we came back here and we treated the TCU match like a big match, and now TCU's gone on to win a bunch of games and get ranked, and now I think a lot of people are looking at that game like, wow, Melanie Parra, she only had 18 kills against us. Now she's put up 30 against a bunch of other programs. People are like, oh, maybe that team is a better win than I think everyone thought Nebraska was going to win. And then obviously we went down to Dallas, and I think SMU took it to us, but that was a big match. I mean, in terms of the environment there. And then Creighton, Arizona State. I just felt like, if I'm being honest, it just felt like another match to us, just because it was a big match. Someone told me the number of the crowd. I was like, really? I didn't notice. When that gym is so big, so you don't maybe feel that, like how maybe we felt it at SMU, just because that arena is a little smaller. But I don't know. If I'm being honest, you could probably ask, hey, girls, they knew they were going to be on national television, but I don't know if they knew, like, the significance of playing on ABC, And, growing up, like, ABC, that primetime, lunchtime window on Sundays was always like, I'm a Laker fan, so I remember growing up watching the Lakers play at that time, so it was kind of cool. But I don't know if our girls even feel that, and maybe it helped, where they're just like, it's just another really good game, a big game against another really good team in Louisville. So, but in terms of kind of what you talked about, I just think that's really awesome that, women's sports and women's volleyball, we're climbing into those bigger primetime windows. Hopefully we get some good ratings. I don't know if they come out yet, but especially trying to do it on an NFL Sunday, I think is a big deal for just women's sports in general.
Is it good too? This program's goal, you guys don't shy around about it, that you want to get to the Final Four. Is it good to have the kind of opportunity to play in that building earlier on in the season? Yeah,
first it's a building that I swear I cannot find my way around there. So hopefully I'm back there. We're back there in December, and I can find my way around there. But no, I just think anything, right? It's like from the hotel to the restaurants to even the girls. Hey, this is the same walk we've taken twice to the gym. To this is the locker room. Hopefully, we're in. It's just we're a big program that we have certain goals, and we put those reminders of those goals out for them to see each and every day over at the Devaney Center. So it's kind of nice where, hey, some of the same people that work in the arena, hopefully we're there working, that, we get there and they kind of know how we like things, and maybe all those little things that, that can kind of form a good routine. And I like to think like, hey, us getting 2 wins there, because hopefully we go back in December and that's how many wins you're going to need to win the whole thing. Hopefully those are all kind of good omens and good. The girls go in there like, oh, okay, we've played really well there the first time, and then we played even better here the second time. Yeah. So maybe can we even up our performance level, no matter who we play. And there's a lot that's going to go into us getting back there. We don't want to,
look too far
ahead, but hopefully, hey, our goal at the beginning of the season was hopefully to play 4 matches at the Yum Center, and hopefully we can get back there and play one more, and then, we'll see where it takes us from there. But, we're just happy that we got a win yesterday and finished off, I think a pretty tough non-conference schedule. And, now we're excited to kind of get into the Big Ten here.
So I did want to hit on something specifically in that win over Louisville, because the ABC crew kept bringing it up, just the service pressure and how good you guys were from the service line. How did y'all feel about that? How important was that? And I guess how much of a focus and emphasis was that in that matchup?
I mean, it was huge. We felt there were certain areas we could attack with serving. But then it comes down to the girls and them us executing and being able to hit tough spots in certain situations. And I thought Coach called a really good game in terms of where we wanted to serve. And I think he did a great job of like staying on some certain people, but then mixing it up. So that way they couldn't maybe get a beat on, okay, in this rotation, Nebraska's going to serve over here and then serve over here. But then at the end of the day, sometimes you might serve maybe the wrong passer, but you hit a good enough serve, we feel like, hey, our best versus their best. If we hit our best serve against their best passer, over a long period of time, we like the odds of that, which I think was the case yesterday too. And just, sometimes even I felt like there was times where, hey, we're on a run or we come out of a timeout. Lindsay did it a couple times. Lexi did it a couple times, and, all of them did, but especially those two I can think of in the top of my head, where they're having a hard time. They're making all these subs. They're maybe changing their serve-receive formations and patterns. That's the time where we just served it in, and in worked a ton too, and being able to, I think, understand that too, of when this is a good time to maybe apply a little more pressure, and maybe this is the time where, hey, sometimes a ton of pressure is just serving it in and seeing if they can pass, set, and kill the ball. And then I think some of those even led to aces or non-perfect passes. So I just thought fundamentally we were really good. Game plan was really good from Coach. And then also just our girls, again, attention to detail, and even just them showing like the volleyball IQ side of things of this is a good time to just get the ball into the court in this certain area and let's just go play defense and not bail them out with a service error when we're on a 2 or 3 point run. I think it was a big, big deal in this match.
Servings can be contagious either way, can't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Serving and passing can be it could be super contagious to where, we have 3 people that may be hammering the serve, and then some guys just go back there and serve in, and it looks like they're hammering serves, but it's just, a couple of other, maybe a couple servers get them off their heels. So that way when maybe we have some servers that maybe aren't maybe hitting it as hard as they possibly can, or maybe not making great hand contact that day, even their serves look great when they're in because, certain people already knock them on their heels, literally sometimes. So I just felt like it was really contagious. I mean, we had Andi Jackson having to serve yesterday because Kennedy Orr didn't play. Macy Bosinger came in and served great, and just, I don't know. I just felt like that was I think Lindsay, Lexi, Bergen, Harper set the tone there. But then everybody else, even we got like 6 rotations of pressure from the service line, which is a big deal. And I think was a big key to the match. I think if you asked the staff on the other side, I think they would say probably that was the biggest decider of the match yesterday.
We even saw Andi back there, laying out, getting a pancake, right? It was impressive.
Andi's a volleyball player that just happens to be playing middle. She's a great volleyball player that just happens to be playing in the middle, and it's unreal how much she's learning this quickly in these high-pressure situations when everyone expects a lot of her already. It's unbelievable to me, and I'm like working with her every day, and there's certain things that I'm just like, wow. Like I'll catch myself saying wow during the match, like that pancake, or she's made a dig against Stanford when she was really out of position because honestly she doesn't spend that much time playing back there in practice. We got to do a better job of getting her more reps back there, but she'll make a random dig and all of us are just looking at each other like, wow. I think yesterday she had like 3 or 4 digs, which I think is, you just hope she serves in and hopefully, we can win a point here or two. I mean, she gave us scoring opportunity after scoring opportunity from our defense in the back row. So, I mean, she's acquiring like skills and understanding the game more and more and more. And, when that catches up to the athleticism, it's going to be pretty special. And I mean, that might be years away from where that happens, but it's cool to see the growth that she's making and even facets of the game where she doesn't maybe necessarily work on every single day.
This might be a really dumb question, but could she be a 6th rotation player?
Yeah.
Okay. Middles don't normally do that, though, right?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
But you think eventually, like, that's something that she could absolutely add to her repertoire? Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason that she couldn't, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, it's one of those where... Again, she's a great athlete and a great volleyball player that just happens to be playing middle right now.
Yeah.
Right now. We don't know. I mean, a lot of it's going to be on her and her development, but I'm not going to be the one that says no to that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she could be one day, or you could develop a system where maybe she serves and plays a little bit in the back row. I mean, there's been crazier things done, and you know, I don't want to put like rumors out there or anything like that because I don't know. I'm just trying to get her to be the best volleyball player she is in her position and help us win the next match. But if you talked about Andi Jackson's long-term development, I would say that would be a project that I think a lot of coaches would sign up for.
That's great. You know, we were able to listen into the huddles yesterday. Coaches were wearing mics, and there was one of the Louisville huddles that the coaches were saying, hey, number 15's out for 2 more rotations, and when she comes in, I mean, they're like game planning around when she comes in. What is it about Andi that's allowing her to really make such an impact here throughout the first however many matches of the season?
I mean, I would say this too. Her and Bergen have this like special connection. You're only as good as the person either hitting the ball off of you or setting it to you, right? Like if I'm being, especially on back sets where Andi does most of her damage behind the setter, and it takes a level of trust, reps, time, you know, and it's crazy. You know, they happen to just be the same age and came to the same school, and they play on the USA teams together, so they're the same age, and I think they're going to keep playing together for even when they leave here. You know, so I would say that's like the biggest key. One of the biggest keys is just who's feeding her the ball and who has confidence in her. And it's one thing to like, okay, hey, we're going to talk about I have confidence in you. But just I think people are starting to see like where Bergen's setting her the ball from, you know, and it's not always just perfect pass, ideal situations. I mean, she's setting the ball to her from 11 feet off the net, 14, 15 feet away, and just throwing it in there. Or, you know, Bergen's off the, you know, in the middle of the court, 15 feet off the net, blindly setting the ball over her shoulder and knowing Andi's going to take care of her over a long period of time, you know? So I think for me, that's the biggest key is, and then we just, you know, we have somebody that's willing to take chances and take risk and throw it in there. Because it's, you could have a great player, but if you don't have somebody that's like willing to, hey, I'm gonna throw it up there and you take care of me, kind of a thing. You know, there's a level of excitement because there's that. It's a partnership, you know. But if you're talking about just Andi herself, like she's one that wants to keep getting better each and every day. And our theme for the middles is we like to get set. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but
no matter how bad the set is, right?
Yeah,
that's what Kelly told us last week.
We just want to get set. We welcome all sets. Just typically in volleyball, outsides get most of the sets, and that's just how the game works, right? And sometimes it's just depending on the pass, it just dictates, and then in transition, it's just it's easier to set the left side. So for us, our theme is we're not going to complain about any sets. You give us a low set, that means we got set, and we'll figure out a way to problem solve from there. Because Bergen's great. I'm just going to leave it at great before I break the internet. But I think, like, sometimes she'll miss us a little bit, or maybe we're a little late, or we're in the wrong space. But it's like, hey, we're going to work together, and we're going to get on the ball. We're going to hit the ball hard. We're going to do whatever it takes to get set, you know? So for us, it's like our big thing is we like to get set. So, you know, and that's one thing Andi's working on is, hey, awesome. You're really, really good, AJ, when the ball's passed perfectly. But the problem is that's sometimes dictated by another third party. Why don't we get it to where, hey, if the ball is somewhat in play, we can set you, you know, and then figure out ways. And there's going to be times where there's going to be some errors there, or there's going to be some learning, or, hey, maybe in this situation to get set, this isn't the play to run. The route to run is maybe go hit over there, or vice versa in different situations. And just her learning that, like she's starting to grasp more and more of that. I think if you watch us play, she's not just hitting right on top of the setter and then out to the pin on the right. She's starting to maybe hit it inside or run out there and then run to the other way and hit the ball, you know, because she already demands so much attention, or I'm just going to speak for what I see. Teams are showing her a lot of attention. It opens up other stuff for other people because now it's not the typical, hey, perfect pass. They might set quick off the net. They can't set the middle. Now it's like, okay, if Bergen Riley can physically put her hands on the ball, she might set Andi Jackson. And right now, Nebraska is really successful over a long period of time when they do that. So it opens up stuff for Merritt. It opens up stuff for Harper and Lindsay and, other people around. Or, Bergen's dumping the ball because maybe blockers aren't paying attention to her because they're all busy worrying about Andi, So just her being available. I think one of the biggest stats for us, especially just looking at stuff, and I'm not on the offensive side of the ball, but I think a really important stat for Nebraska is not what Andi's necessarily her kills or her hitting percentage, is how many times she gets set, because she's pretty efficient. And if she's getting set a lot, it means, they must be passing good. Bergen's throwing it into her. If she's getting set a lot, it probably means she's killing a lot of balls too. So I would test everybody is, can we look at the number of attempts Andi Jackson has, not just how many kills or her hitting percentage? Because you could hit 500, but if you're 2 for 4 swings, you don't really affect a big-time match with only 4 swings. But if you're hitting 380, 400, and you got 20, 25 sets, you're affecting the game a lot. And other teams have to really game plan for you. But if you're only getting set 2 or 3 times, people kind of just, all right, we'll let her get her 2 kills. But 2 kills in a match where there's going to be 60, 70 kills isn't really that big. But if you're getting 12, 13, 14 kills on 25 to 30 swings and Nebraska swings at the ball 90 times, that's a lot where people have to pay attention to you. And I think that's where we're getting to now with Andi.
Last week Jordan Larson was on and was talking about the hitters calling for the ball and confidently calling for the ball. What role do your middles play in that then? And seeing, hey, get me the ball here. It's not just the hitters, right? They've got to be loud and communicate with Bergen too, right?
So our big thing is you call it 3 times. So whatever you want, you call it 3 times, and preferably you call it 3 times before the ball is even being touched by Bergen, because usually by the time the ball's already on its way down, Bergen's probably made her decision. So it's can we call for the ball? Again, we like to get set. And we, on our side of things, on the middle blocker side of things, is we have to do everything we can control to get set. And that's footwork, that's calling the ball, that's making sure we're running the right spot in a specific situation. So we could be calling a set nice and early, but if it's the wrong play, I'd trust Bergen not to set us because this is not the best situation. So it's we want to get set. Let's find a better solution for this specific situation, and that's on us.
Yeah. Okay, so the last time you were here, I told you that I wanted to dive into this, and I mean, obviously we could talk about a lot of things for a long time, but the slide attack, and Andi is so good at that, and we hear that a lot. No matter who's calling the game, somebody brings it up. How does that become something that somebody's good at? Why is that something that Andi is so good at and this team tries to utilize so much?
First, it's just a tough play because in volleyball, typically the traditional is you have people start off the net and they basically kind of just their route or their approach takes them straight to the net. So as a defender, you kind of know the part of the net that they're going to hit at. So I'm not saying it's easy to defend because some people are more athletic. But with the slide, because you're running parallel to the net, there's different attack points that you could hit the ball from because you're running next to the net versus when you're meeting the ball, there's a spot where, okay, the ball is being set here and it's coming down. The attacker's running right here. As a blocker, I'm okay, well, maybe I don't know if they're going to hit the ball down the line or cross court, but I can kind of meet the ball at the contact point. It's easier. Versus a slide, because the ball, basically the attacker's following the ball, there's many points on that arc of the set that someone could hit it. So it's really difficult. That's one thing that's actually really hard as a blocker is picking up exactly where they want to hit the ball. And you have an athlete like Andi, because she's so physical, she's long, and she can jump off the ground really high, obviously, and she's really quick. She can pick it off early, so blockers are either late or they're too wide, or she can let the ball drift out to the pin. The blocker thinks she's gonna hit it inside, and because she's so physical, she's still above the net. She's not really hanging in the air. Hang time's kind of a myth physically, but because she's so high, she's still on her way down, and because she's drifting out toward the pin, the blocker's inside, she can just hit it down the line. So it just makes it to where it's based on your timing of the set, you can either hit it cross court or down the line. So that's one, just why a slide is so, that's why that's a big thing. Usually you have great teams. Usually they have great slide hitters because it's kind of it's if you do it right, it's really hard to stop. I'm not going to say it's the most unstoppable thing in volleyball, but it's one of them if you have, because it's just really hard to play. It's like, for old basketball fans out there, it's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's hook, like sky hook. It's like kind of one of those.
How do you defend it?
Yeah, you can't really. It's like the way you defend it is hope he doesn't get the ball and then hope he misses it. You know. And I'm not saying Andy's that good at the slide, but it's one of those things where just the play
like
itself,
the play,
yes, like
when
great,
you were good at this, like
great
at the
slide hitter.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if a kid told me the only thing they can do is like I'm great at the slide and I can't do anything else, you're hired right away because it's one of those things where it's so important, not just to that individual piece, but if you have a great slide hitter, it makes your offense so diverse because now you can set the ball behind the setter when she's in the front row. It opens up so many different things versus when teams don't have great slide hitters or good slide hitters, it makes them very one-dimensional when the setter's in the front row. What makes Andi so good at it too, like individually, is her physical ability and just her approach mechanics, her arm mechanics, they're really good. They can get better. I would say not get better. They can be more consistent, especially in the pass is a little low. Maybe she has to transition off the net first. Those situations I was talking about in terms of maybe calling the ball, making sure she has great timing when she's in serve receive. She gets to stand in her spot and then run it. Now it's like, are we expanding where maybe she blocks the ball all the way on the left? Can she run back in the middle and be consistent with her footwork then? Or, I don't know, someone serves her the ball. She passes it, and then can she go be like really, really good and consistent then? So it's her footwork, her arm swing are great. We're trying to get it more consistent. And then just physicality. I mean, there's no joke. Sometimes it's just, hey, if I'm higher than you, there's an advantage in this sport, right? So her length and being able to be in the air for a long period of time enables her to kind of hit cross court, deep seam, deep line. I mean, honestly, she can bounce it straight down, which people have seen. She can hit it deep into the corner, and then she is working on this, this like power tip or jam over the top of people. That it's just really hard to defend because, sure, she has her favorite spots, but now she's like expanding her range, and that's something else we're working on with not just her but all the middles. So it's just that, and then I had a conversation with her, I think maybe at the beginning of the season, where I asked her, on a slide, the biggest thing is navigating that outside blocker. Just kind of that person's going to be following you, and can you pick up where they're going to be and then either know where they're going to be and hit it off of them or know where they're going to be and hit it away from them? Last year, and if you have her on the show, she'll tell you this, she told me this, to quote her, she said, honestly, last year, Jaylen, I couldn't see that person. I would just jump as high as I can, close my eyes, and hit the ball as hard as I can. And if I'm being honest, sometimes it looked like that. Now she's starting to see that blocker. So now it's like the vision. Big thing with attacking is vision. And sometimes it's not even necessarily the back row defenders. It's just, can you get the ball past that one important blocker to you? Because then it's just really hard to dig. I mean, it's very rare she gets dug. So it's either she gets blocked or she hits out is how she gets stopped. But if she just gets it past the blocker and hits it in the court, it usually, over a long period of time, ends up being a kill. So it's like her ability now to feel comfortable in her approach, being able to see the set, but out of her peripheral vision, see that blocker that's also with her. So now it's like, okay, I see you staying inside, I'll wait and hit it down the line. Or I see you out, you're out with me, I'm going to pick it off and hit it inside of you, So it's just, there's a lot of nuances to being a great slide hitter. That's why, if in my opinion, there's not that many great ones in the country or in the world. There's a lot of good ones, but like the great ones have the ability to kind of do all, if that makes sense. But yeah, her physicality is probably number one, but all these other nuances we're working on to get better. And then I think, if I'm being honest, I'm going to give credit to Bergen Riley. I mean, it's just kids with like setters that have great world-class back sets, just they're dime a dozen, and just the fact that Andi gets to play with her a lot just helps. And it's just like a relationship that just keeps building each and every day. And I don't think Andi would take that for granted, for sure.
Fascinating. You're saying it's not easy to back set, right?
No, I mean there's just to be consistent and being able to like understand tempo and it's just harder. You're not looking at it, you know. So it's one of those things where it's just mechanically she's really good, and you know, and Kelly and coach have done a great job with her, and just the ability to just put the ball in the money, and when you don't, you put it in a place where we know where you're going to miss. So we can plan for that too as an attacker, versus you have setters that back set and they miss all over the place. And as an attacker, there's nothing worse than, you know, a miss that goes all over the place. It's like when I'm trying to hit a golf ball and it's like I'm pulling it, and then the next one I try to account for it, and then I spray it left. As the next shot, it's like awful because you don't know where it's going to go. And the next you know, you hit it straight, but you're aiming so far right, you know, versus, hey, if I know I'm just going to miss left the whole time, I can kind of account for that, you know. Bergen's really good at just, hey, a lot of balls are on the money, and when she misses, it's going to be this specific thing that, ooh, I recognize this, and I can still be successful because, hey, that's almost become one of my sets I know I'm going to hit off of you. And, I mean, she doesn't miss much, but when she does, it's pretty consistent, and it makes it easier on all attackers, not just Andi.
We're going to start a bingo card on when you're on the show, when you bring up golf your
references.
golf game, and the Lakers.
Golf references and the Lakers, we can talk a lot about this.
But, you know, going back to just Bergen and hey, giving your playmakers a chance to make a play, right? That's what Dylan Raiola has done, and you've got a relationship with him. It was cool. He was at Stanford, the Stanford match, and there was a neat, when you guys are running off, you had an interaction. Does he still call you uncle?
Still calls me uncle. That's my nephew.
You got to be proud of him.
And honestly, we were talking about Bergen in terms of just, hey, having belief in hey, I'm going to just throw it into you, and I know you're going to take care of me. I mean, I know we didn't maybe get the result we wanted the other day, or that one, just the corner made a great play before halftime. But just that's what Bergen's doing. Throw it up there and trust that, you know, Dylan throws it up there, and I can't remember the wide receiver in the end zone. But
on Saturday it was Isaiah Nair.
Yes, they're just throwing it up there, and he's trusting his guys to go take care of it, you know, and that takes obviously a lot of reps, trust, relationship, but it's also just the understanding of when you play these great teams. Open is not this 20-yard window. Open is like, hey, back shoulder, I'm going to put it there. I'm going to trust that you're going to make that read and go catch it. Same thing in volleyball, you know. And, yeah, Dylan's been awesome. And it's really cool to have just another Polynesian around campus. There's not a lot of us here, obviously. And, you know, whenever I get to see Donnie, obviously I don't really get to see him much because we're both in season. But, you know, Dylan's been great. Dylan's come to a bunch of our matches, and you know, I've gone to all of his games so far. This was his first game I'm going to miss because they're going to be on the road. But no, it's really cool to just have, you know, somebody that, I mean, it's just, I was talking to somebody about this over the weekend. He like loves sports, you know, he's like, you know, I mean, I met him on his recruiting trip years ago, but like, I think him and I have been to like randomly just been at a bunch of, I can't even count how many Husker basketball games, just kind of sitting next to each other and just chatting. And, you know, and then he's texted me from like the Polynesian Bowl when they were there, because they played at the high school that I went to. So they're just, you know, he's like saying like, bro, you went to high school here? This is insane, you know, and then just like seeing him around. And I don't know, I think it's awesome just seeing not just Dylan, but athletes supporting other athletes here at Nebraska, and seeing, I mean, turning and I see the women's basketball team been always at our games for years now, and see some of the men's basketball players. Obviously, everyone recognizes Becca's brother at the game. He was there yesterday. Yeah. You know, I know he's not a player anymore, but just I think that part of college sports is really, really cool. And you know, some of them don't realize like it's not going to be like that forever. Like once they're 22, 23, 24, they're going to be done with it, and you don't get this time back. So I think it's really awesome, you know, to see the starting quarterback in Nebraska football out at other sporting events, you know, just because I think it shows like he's a sports guy. Two, he's supporting his school, and he's out there, and he's out there sitting with everybody. And, you know, I'm just like, man, you know, I kind of look at him and I'm like, how many pictures are you going to take during this match, bro? Like, you know, they couldn't get you some seats where you're not going to be bothered. But I don't know, I think that's kind of cool when I see that. And not just Dylan, but all these other athletes supporting other sports, I think is a big deal. And I think that's what makes Nebraska. Yeah,
I was going to say, it's not even just, hey, this time is limited, but you can't find this just anywhere. It's not like this just everywhere.
I mean, he's on a Wednesday, he's got a big game Friday, and they're out there. And I mean, kudos even to the staff. you know, because they could, hey, we're too cool for school. We're not going to go out support. I mean, I think last year I'm not sure, you might know this, Jess, I think they had some sort of competition in the spring in terms of they had to, I don't know if it was by positions or class, but they would get points for going to, you know, I mean, sometimes we had like 20, 25 of them just sitting there for our beach match, you know, and stuff like that. And I think that stuff you don't get outside of this. Maybe you get it in high school depending on where you go. But like some of our girls that go and play pro, you're not going to get that, you know, in terms of that. And I know some of our Dayton football players and all that, but I just think that's a cool, like that's a part of me that I'll even sit back and kind of check out and go, that's cool. And not just seeing Dylan in the stands, but seeing men's, women's basketball, track. I see wrestlers at our games and stuff like that. So I think that's a really cool piece of college sports that I think goes unnoticed. And I love that the media and that you asked me about this, because I think that stuff's awesome. And I hope our girls, and I know our girls do the same things, and not just at the football games, but they go to women's basketball, they go to men's basketball, they go to other sporting events. I know our girls go to gym or wrestling, or they go to soccer, you know, and I think that's really, really, you know, a cool thing. So
I don't think Bergen missed a women's basketball game last year. She was there all the time. So
she was there. She was also there at the men's basketball thing, but I think there's 4 different reasons for that one.
True. Okay. So, but you're more okay with being called uncle than the last time we asked you about it.
I'm totally fine. And that was like a little backstory, but now I'm like,
you're okay with it.
No, I mean, I even tell people now, and they'll just like, hey, I saw you talking to Dylan after the game, and I'll just say, yeah, that's my nephew. And people just like flat out believe it now. And I'm like, wow, is it just because we're both Hawaiian? But that's okay.
That's amazing. Okay, let's circle back now. Big Ten opener, and it's UCLA and USC. How does that sound?
Weird. If I'm being flat out honest with you, weird. It's still weird to me seeing, you know, Oregon versus, or it was Washington State versus Washington one night after I think we played Arizona State. We were on Big Ten Network. I go up to my office, and the Big Ten Network's on in my office, and it's Washington State playing Washington in volleyball, and that's on the Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
You know, and I know Washington State's not part of the Big Ten, but it just hasn't. You know, I watch an Oregon volleyball game, and it's like they have the Big Ten logo on their court. It's weird, and especially you think of. I mean, I grew up in the Pac-10. I grew up with Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, USC football. You know, and just the fact that it's. I mean, I remember it was weird calling it the Pac-12 for a little bit, and then now they're. Well, yeah, we can talk about realignment here in a little bit, but it's different, and I don't know, it's kind of cool, you know. And I guess people could say, well, hey, Nebraska, you weren't a Big Ten school either, so
yeah, true.
But yeah, it's interesting, it's different. It's 2 coaching staffs I know actually very well, a lot of them. The UCLA head coach actually played for my dad in college.
Wow.
Yeah, and their assistant. I've coached against him for at a couple of different schools. He was at Northwestern before. I played against him at Long Beach, and then the USC staff, Tyler Hildebrandt's on the staff, and a guy that I grew up kind of idolizing in Hawaii, Spencer McLaughlin. He's an assistant, and Brad Keller has been on the men's side of volleyball forever. So it's just kind of cool that we get to kind of be their intro to the Big Ten. I know USC plays a game before they play us, but I don't know. I feel like the scheduling gods kind of align this weekend. But yeah, it's in terms of USC, UCLA being a Big Ten game for us, it's quite hasn't sunk in yet, if I'm being honest.
So you got UCLA on Friday, USC on Sunday. And I know you guys take it one match at a time, but USC, another homecoming for Allie Batenhorst, and she's doing well for them. But how special is that going to be? It's always neat when those players come back. The crowd recognizes it. But to get her back, you guys have a great relationship with her. To have her back here inside Devaney, how special is that going to be?
It's going to be pretty awesome. I would be. I'm trying to think, because we've had players that have played here that have transferred and they've come back and played since I've been here. I think this one's going to be like the biggest ovation, and I hope it is, because Allie's been, I mean, she's played in 2 Final Four, she's played in 2 national championship games for us, you know, and, you know, she's a kid. I know she's from Houston, but parents are born and raised here in Nebraska, and she's a Nebraska girl that, you know, decided to do grad school at USC, and we support her. I'm so happy for her and for that team, and obviously, you know, we're going to try to stop her on Sunday, but I mean, I think that one's going to be really, really, really cool. And I hope, and I don't even hope. I know Husker Nation's going to really, you know, really give her a nice, you know, ovation when she's announced in their starting lineup on Sunday, just because I think I know just that's how Nebraska people are.
Absolutely. Okay, quickly, last thing I got for you. Just what are the keys going into this weekend? What do you guys need to do to start this thing off?
I think
with
the biggest key is just don't listen to everyone telling you how good you are because of the week last week. You know, it's just, it can go, the game doesn't know. It doesn't know that you just beat number 2 and number 4. It doesn't know that. It just knows, hey, you got a really good team coming to play you on Friday and a really good team playing you on Sunday. And just because maybe we took 3 sets in a row against Stanford and took 3 sets in a row against Louisville, that doesn't mean necessarily, because maybe the rankings don't line up, we should just easily do the same thing. So I think that's key number 1. They're both really good serving teams without getting too much into it. And then the other thing is they both actually have really deep rosters in terms of both teams have really good players that maybe are not even in their starting lineup. So just making sure we're ready to prepare for a lot of different things they could throw at us. And then both teams have, you talked about Allie for USC. UCLA has a bunch of players that have a lot of experience that, they have 4th, 5th-year seniors, 6th-year seniors on their teams that, have been through this. Maybe some of them haven't played at Nebraska before, but just a lot of kids with a lot of experience, whether it's USA, whether it's, in NCAA volleyball, whether it's at USC or UCLA or different schools. So just, again, we're going to be playing another, teams that might play a little bit like an Arizona State or a TCU where they're going to set a lot of back row stuff. They're going to run quick stuff in the middle. They're both going to set the ball pretty fast, just like Arizona State, TCU did for people that remember those matches. And just because, they're not they're not a top ranked in the top 5, that doesn't mean they're not really good teams. And I think the other big thing too is just like, cool part about playing Nebraska is like when we get to play these other programs that, when you think of NCAA women's volleyball, you think of like UCLA, USC. They're programs that have multiple national championships too, and just the respect that the two programs have for each other, even though maybe we don't see them all the time. Now we're going to get to see them a little bit more just because of the conference stuff. Just understanding that, hey, these are some of the matches why you come here to play. And just because, hey, maybe the other team just lost a match, that doesn't mean they're going to be a cakewalk on Friday. I mean, they're 2 really good teams with 2 really good staffs that really know volleyball. That we need to spend all week to get better, rest up, and it's going to be a battle with the LA schools this weekend. Hopefully, we can welcome them to the Big Ten correctly.
Absolutely. Also, you're a big fan of the high chews Damon Benning brought in for us.
High chews
Kelly likes them too.
High chews are awesome. It's another just honestly anything like Japanese candy. Just growing up in Hawaii, you like grow up with all these. I mean, we had like a million. It's always funny. You go home and because of all the Japanese tourists, they bring in all these different flavors of stuff. Then it's like 5 years later, the mainland's got them. So they're like, have you had the yogurt flavor one? I'm like, yeah, I had that when I was like 7. So we gotta speed things up with the Japanese food here in Nebraska.
Well, DB's been bringing them for us every week. I need to tell him he needs to bring you guys a stash because
high chews are awesome. I'm a big fruity candy person. Purple bag of Skittles is number 1, but high chews are really good too.
Awesome. Jaylen Reyes, as always, great stuff. I think we covered, I don't even know.
We covered a lot.
Everything.
A lot of rabbit holes.
We got it.
A lot of rabbit holes we just went down.
Thank you so much for being here. Best of luck this week.
Thank you. Go Big Red.
Again, that's Uncle Jaylen to Dylan Raiola here with us on The Dig. The Dig is, as always, proud to power this podcast and all of Husker women's sports. Make sure you subscribe and like wherever you listen to Never Miss an Episode right here on the Huskers Radio Network podcast.